Do you sometimes struggle to put together an interesting, engaged arrangement for your tracks? If so, I want to give you 3 fundamental mindsets or parts you need to know or think about when you arrange a track. The goal of this video is really to create more clarity for your arrangement process so it becomes easier for you to arrange a track, right? Hey friends, Silvano here from roughingstudio.com. Okay, so in this video I want to talk a little bit more about the different arrangement parts inside the track and what purpose each of the parts serves, right? Later on we also tackle some of the top problems and how to solve them. Now, I'm not saying that with knowing all those parts I don't struggle to write arrangement, but it lets me understand what or why an arrangement is not working properly, what I possibly could do to make it more interesting. So the first thing to know about arrangement is really to know that it has mainly 3 different parts. I call them A, B and C sections, and I got those from a drum and bass guy actually, which calls Il Gates, and he thinks about A, B and C sections. Other people talk about verse, chorus and bridge and whatever, right? But at its most fundamental way, A, B and C. Another mindset that we need to think about when it comes to arrangement is really to think at its most fundamental way, the arrangement is just tension and release, or in other words, creating curiosity and expectation. So we basically release the expectation, right? So whenever you find yourself stuck, or if a track gets boring in a certain section, just ask yourself this simple question of do I have enough tension or release going, and if not, how can I create more tension? Or if there's too much tension, how can I release it or resolve the tension, right? So oftentimes we can do such things with bringing in some adaptation of the main elements in and out with some volume changes, filtering effects and so on, right? Okay, so now let's go over to the 3 parts that I mentioned before, and I don't talk about the intro and outro here, just the main elements, right? But the different sections are basically, again, intro, A, B, C section and outro. Okay, so what's the A section? What's the purpose of it? It's basically a stripped down version of the B section to create some tension. Now, let's talk first about the B section in that way, right? Because if you don't know the B section, we can't talk about the A section. Anyway, so the B section is basically what I call the all-in section. There's basically the main loop. If you work in loops, this is the loop that contains all the sounds, right? The core idea, all the stuff, right? It's the all-in section, basically, the main section. Again, coming back to the A section. So the A section is basically a stripped down version of the B section to create some tension, curiosity and command, right? It's like hanging that carrot in front of the donkey without letting him eat it, right? If we want to think about the stupid anecdote. Then we have the B section. We already talked about it, and in the B section we actually release the tension that we created from the A section. So we actually give that fucking carrot to the donkey that he expected he will get it, right? And then he's satisfied. Then we have the C section. For what the C section is, the purpose of the C section is surprise. Bring in a new element, maybe just to give a break from the B section. Maybe we can do that maybe with a break, with bringing in an adaptation of the other element, of the main element, right? We can bring in elements in and out. There are lots of ways to create the C section, right? Also to note, there are often more than just one C section. We listen to an example later on in this video. What I noticed is a lot of producers don't really think about in those sections, but they do it intentionally, right? They think, oh, here needs something to change, and maybe there's something, and so on. They do it in a natural way. But if you struggle to get an arrangement going, I think thinking in those three different parts really helps. At least that was the case for me. Now let's get a little bit practical here and listen to one or two Audible examples and see how the different parts or sections work, right? And maybe we find out some raw grit, you know. We don't go into crazy details, but we just want a little overlook over the sound or over the parts, different parts, and then we can use it to implement them into our very own tracks. I picked a track from Vern, Balance, because I think it's a great example to actually analyze an arrangement and showing you the different elements and how they are used in this specific track. And also I will do a Q&A with Vern in probably a couple of weeks. I don't know yet exactly, but yeah, you'll see the arrangement and the track works. So let's have a closer look and what we can learn about the arrangement from Vern. And if you have any questions for the Q&A, for the upcoming Q&A, just let me know in the comments or send me a direct message on Instagram if you like, with some questions if you have any. Okay, so the first thing really was I imported the track into an Ableton session and used the correct BPM. And then what I did was really using some locators, inserted them on the breaks. My attention is probably the main break, don't know. Then we have another break here. And then what I did was really using Command-Shift-T, inserting some MIDI tracks, 3 different MIDI tracks for the A, B and C section, different colors, intro and outro. And then I just had a couple of listens and tried to figure out what possible section it could be, right? And then in the end we have a kind of a template that we could possibly adapt. And I think just having such a thing already gives more clarity for your very own tracks to adapt. Let's have a listen here. Intro. Really basic. I mean, an intro outro doesn't need to be fancy, because just for mixing for the DJ sets. So now again, A section is there to make us curious, trying to get our attention, trying to give a sense of command, to give us a little bit of a carrot and makes us curious. Let's have a listen here. Are you curious what's coming? I am. No clapping there. There are some sounds coming in a little bit here and there. Very small break here to actually not break the flow of that curiosity, I would say. And I still labeled it as a C section. Maybe it's not a C section, but it doesn't really matter, you know. In my opinion, we just want to gain some clarity, an overview of the different sections, and I don't go too rigid about, oh, maybe this is A, B, 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 but I go really crazy like this one. but you don't really need to. Just a rough overview to get the sense on how you can possibly implement the different sections into your very own track if you struggle with arrangement or just for some inspiration, right? And let's have a listen to the A2. I labeled it A2 because it's different to the A1. Some satisfaction already, but still a command, creating some tension. It's building it a little bit up. Here are some sounds coming in slowly. And here the sound is really coming in this break, in the C section that we hear a little bit in this A2 section, right? Fresh element introduced. He does a great job here. Love that. Another element, I guess. But remember, we have the C section to keep it interesting. Little break here again. Actually, this could maybe also be A, I don't know. But you get the idea. Let's see what's coming next. Some kind of new element. Another new element introduced somehow. And here in this C section, the new element is really showing its face, what I call showing its face. And this B section here is different. Than this one, because there is another element in the background a little bit. And here's also a very nice little C section. I love that. I love what he did here. Very simple but so powerful. Listen to this. Nice little surprise, I love that kick. And then we get the satisfaction again with the B section. Remember, the C section is there to give a break from the B section to keep it interesting, and then we want the B section again, right? We want that, and here we get it. And it also sounds a little bit different here than this section or this one. A section. And the outro. Yeah, this should give you a little bit of a better understanding of how an arrangement works, even if maybe the parts are not 100% correctly labeled. It doesn't really matter, but just the fact that it gives you a little bit more clarity and laid out over the timeline with different sections should already give you some clarity. And if you want to go really crazy, you can add another MIDI channel and then insert an EQ, and there is no sound in it, right? So we can just draw some automation lines and use them as basically draw the energy flow of the track. So we can, if the tension goes up, we draw a upward line, and if it releases a little bit, a downward, right? Just again, just to give a little bit more clarity, if you struggle with arrangement, or just for inspiration. Honestly, I just used this track for inspire myself for an arrangement because I really like the kick, for example, or yeah, there are some small things in it. Go and check this track out, maybe download it for yourself and then really analyze it. Take 10 listens maybe, or more if you need to. And yeah, if you do that for 10 different tracks, just lay it out, take the time, you will learn a lot of things about arranging a track. And again, I point you to the Q&A that is coming very soon. So if you have any questions to Vern, I hope I pronounce his name correctly. I guess so. Yeah, just shoot me an email, a DM on Instagram, or simply add a comment in the comment section, and then I try to ask the question. Now let's sum it up quickly. At the very core, think of the arrangement in its simplest form of building tension and release. Tension and release, really simple. So we create tension and we resolve the tension. We release it, right? And then we think in 3 different sections: A, B, and C. So the A section is there to put the carrot in front of the donkey, giving a little bit, we make the listener curious what's coming. Then with the B section, we resolve it. Usually the all-in section, all the parts in it, the main parts. Then we have the C section to give a break to the B section. Something fresh comes in, maybe an adaptation of the main element, the main synth, pad, effect, what it is, And there can certainly be more than one C or B section, right? And I think just thinking in those 3 simple parts, and tension and release, really helps to create better and more engaged arrangements. And of course, there is no rule to follow this simple part, but I think it works. It really works. Now, previously I said, let's talk about the problems. Now, if an arrangement doesn't work, most often I discovered that I either have too many elements or too little. The tension and release is not really there, or I have an energy problem. So the contrast in between the different parts is too big, right? But that's probably stuff for a separate video. Yeah, again, too little or too many elements in a track. The contrast is too high between those elements, so it's not really flowing. Okay, action step for you. Find one track that you really like and really analyze it. Maybe take 10 listens and see what's going on in a certain arrangement and how the tension and release part was created, right? Load it maybe into your DAW and use different MIDI channels to describe when certain instruments are coming in, and use the automation line to draw some lines for the tension and release part. Maybe use the locators inside Ableton to add notes when a new section, or what section it is and when it starts, right? By analyzing other tracks, I think you will gain a lot of clarity and knowledge, and it will also create a lot of aha moments for the arrangement part. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your time. Hope to see you in next week's video. Cheers.